You're watching World Talks on TVP World. I'm Aaron Dahmen. The Czech Republic is preparing itself for a new government made up of the populist ANO, Eurosceptic motorists and far-right SPD parties. The three political forces put pen to paper on a coalition deal on Monday, with billionaire businessman Andrej Babiš set to be the country's next Prime Minister. Here to break it all down is Jan Čulík, Senior Lecturer in Czech Studies at the University of Glasgow. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So I'm curious, what drove these parties to electoral success, and how will this coalition, in your view, play out for the Czech Republic on the ground?
These are very interesting questions, and it is really quite impossible to answer it, because this coalition that Babiš has put together is crazy, frankly. Obviously, he didn't get more than 100 seats in the 200-seat Czech parliament, and so he needed somebody to actually get to his 108 seats, which they now have together. But the outgoing coalition, the right-of-centre coalition headed by Petr Fiala, wouldn't cooperate with them. So the only way that he could do it was to get these two extremely eccentric parties. And SPD wanted to leave the European Union and NATO, while the motorists wanted to drive petrol cars, and basically very minor parties with extremist politicians. You may have been reporting that thing about Filip Turek, whom the motorists wanted to appoint foreign secretary. This is still not clear. And an independent Prague newspaper discovered his incredibly racist and vulgar comments on social networks. So I don't know. I think actually it is very unrealistic that this government could actually govern. Last Friday, they published their program, and probably it is quite useful to stop over that a little bit. Now, in the first place, they want to cut taxes for the rich people, for businesses, not to raise taxes for poor people, but they are promising to increase salaries to everyone. And really, there are commentators who are saying, we don't know how this is even sort of viable. Where are they going to get all the money? And the other thing is, the only kind of clear position in that program is that they are against actions against global warming. They want to cancel the Green Deal. And then there are various other slightly controversial aspects, like they are going to abolish the law which punishes people working with foreign power. So, for instance, if there are collaborators who would want to work with Putin, they would no longer be punished. On the other hand, they will punish non-profit making organizations that get funding from the West. So it is really very interesting. But the main problem is, I don't think, and many people don't think, that all these promises, we will raise the pay of soldiers, we will raise the pay of teachers, we will raise the pay of old age pensioners. Where will they get the money for this if they are also not wanting to increase the indebtedness of the country, and they are cutting taxes for the rich people? This is a right-of-centre coalition.
What about the EU? I mean, you mentioned there, obviously, there is a far-right party within the coalition, also a Eurosceptic motorist party, the populist ANO party. I mean, there is a Eurosceptic tone through that. Can we expect a more hardline Eurosceptic position, even anti-EU or NATO stance from Prague?
Yes, but this is very interesting, because Babiš is very careful not to commit himself to anything outrageous, because he knows that if his policy is openly outrageous, there will be very large demonstrations against. Yes, as an entrepreneur, he will need Brussels and subsidies from Brussels. But it is clear that he is trying to avoid any concrete criticism. He actually persuaded these smaller parties not to demand the leaving of Czech Republic from the European Union, not to demand these kind of policies. And one interesting thing, there was this huge controversy about who will be ministers in this government, and he has again kicked this under the carpet. We now learn from him, today Parliament opened in the Czech Republic, that the ministers will only be appointed sometime in late November. So whenever he has a problem, he is just trying to kind of avoid it or push it into the future. So it's very difficult to answer all these questions.
So is Andrej Babiš, in your view, is he a Viktor Orban or a Robert Fico, or is he a pragmatic operator, a bit of an opportunist?
Well, there are different views about it because he's very difficult to define. Some people are saying that he is inspired by Orban, and when he says that he wants to reform the European Union, not to abolish it, many people suspect that he wants to do it in the Orbanesque way. One of the also program points in this plan is to rejuvenate the Visegrad 4 group. And this is also quite questionable because Orban, if Babiš admires him, may be out of power in Hungary next year. Poland isn't populist now. And also Slovakia, will Fico in Slovakia really support or mimic Orban if Orban is out of power? So this is yet another of these very unclear things that Babiš wants to work primarily with Visegrad 4, but is it even possible that Poland would be willing to be part of something like this if Babiš proves to be a populist?
And given what you described there about Poland's position and the potential changing of position in Hungary next year, and whether Slovakia would then still follow Hungary's suit, and obviously the fact that Czech Republic, Andrej Babiš is in a bit of a different position than the likes of Orban and Fico. I mean, could we see the Visegrad 4 basically disintegrate, that actually no longer exists?
I have just read today an interesting comment by one of the commentators saying, look, these populists, when they got into power, and I suppose it was the same with Law and Justice in Poland, on the basis of anger of people, right? And they express anger when they get to power. But the problem is, you cannot rule a country on the basis of anger. You have to have policies. You have to have compromises. And when they actually, now that they have actually prepared this program of their government, it seems to be very unrealistic.
What about Ukraine? I mean, obviously, it's a massive topic of conversation, and the policies of those countries in Central and Eastern Europe when it comes to Ukraine are largely supportive of the Ukrainian fight. Obviously, there are some who still, like Hungary, who still allow Russian oil into their country. I mean, how does the Czech position change as a result of this election when it comes to Kyiv?
Now, Babiš is a populist. He's very sensitively watching the moods in the country. It is true that in the Czech Republic, there's a certain portion of the population who are irritated by immigrants of all kinds, and especially Ukrainians. There are these people who are saying these kind of on social networks, they are taking all our money away. And Babiš may not openly cancel the help towards Ukraine, but he has said that really any help for Ukraine should be done via the European Union because we have to support our own pensioners. So there will be a probably slight shift. On the other hand, I do not think that Babiš would want to alienate his Western allies. So again, And he's been caught doing this. He is often saying something else to his local audiences than what he is saying on the international scene. So probably it will be weaker, the position of the Czech Republic towards Ukraine under Babiš, but I doubt whether he will openly say, no, we are going to help them at all. He certainly ruled out supporting Putin right at the beginning.
A lot of unknowns. Lastly, I want to ask what the coming weeks look like. So you mentioned the formation of the government in terms of the ministerial positions. I mean, how long is it before the new government coalition becomes fully operational, or in your view, as operational as it will be able to become?
Well, today we saw members of parliament, all 200 of them were there. This time they actually sat there alphabetically, not according to party political divisions, because that hasn't really been organized yet. And again, it seems to be taking a very long time. As I say, I've mentioned this before here, that Babiš has said the ministerial posts will be decided later in November. So maybe the government could start functioning before Christmas. However, there's one other probably quite sort of fictitious, and I don't know, speculation. In the new year, there is a congress of the Civic Democratic Party, which is the party which lost the election. And some commentators are not ruling out that maybe Babiš might wait until January and then try to attract some members of the Civic Democratic Party into his coalition rather than these two extremist parties. But other people are denying it. So basically, the only thing that it can be said, we don't know what is going to happen, and the situation in the Czech Republic at the moment is extremely flexible. The only point is that Babiš's ANO is going to be ruling. He hasn't even committed himself to being a prime minister. One news item today was the prime minister will be from the ANO grouping, but they didn't say expressly that it's going to be Babiš. It's crazy.
So many open questions remain. Jan Čulík, Senior Lecturer in Czech Studies at the University of Glasgow. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And that's all for this edition of World Talks. Do stay with us here on TVP World. I'm Aaron Dahmen. Have a very good evening indeed.